everything. I can do what I do only because of Jesus Christ. And to him goes the glory for that. So we need to remember Jesus will meet you in your everyday. Okay? That's the first thing. Now, the other thing I want to point out in this that is in the section of 1 to 9 is that Jesus broke 3 different customs. First, he spoke to her despite the fact that she was a woman. That was frowned upon. So that's first. Second, she was Samaritan. Very brief history between the Jews and the Samaritans. Okay? The Samaritans were considered to be a polluted race. There's nothing else I can say that's better. The Assyrians had come in and taken over their part of Israel, and they purposely intermarried with them. So they were looked at, frowned upon for who they were culturally, who they were for their race. They had taken and developed their own Bible. Even though they worshiped the same God, they created their own Bible. They didn't worship at the temple in Jerusalem. They created their own temple. So from a religious standpoint, they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And so they were hated. So the thing is this, the other thing I want you to consider in this. He didn't have anything to get any water from the well. He was tired. This is where Jesus' humanity comes out. He was tired and he was thirsty. He had no means to get water himself. He had to use her utensil. That made him ceremonially unclean, according to the Jewish law. So the point here is that we are going to be confronted in our lives with our own prejudices. What do you have? What areas are you legalistic in? Where you say, this is what I believe, and that's it. Again, we should care about what God cares about. So that's a bit of a fine line. But I'm here to tell you, when we put our religious beliefs over something that God doesn't care about, that's where we start becoming self-righteous. Are we self-righteous? What are we willing to overcome to present the love of Jesus Christ to those in need? We are surrounded today by all these messages of color of skin, of race, of gender, of sexuality. We are bombarded with these messages to the point where people will get rid of social media because it's too much for them. The news becomes too much for us. And I find it, I guess the best word is interesting. Jesus, on more than one occasion, puts out there the Samaritans just to show us and remind us of our own prejudices and what we need to care about. Jesus does not care about the color of a person's skin. Jesus doesn't care about their race, their cultural background. Jesus doesn't care what their gender is. Jesus doesn't care what their sexuality is. That's a mind blower, because if he wants to get your attention, he's going to do it. He's pursuing after each and every one of us because he wants our hearts. Move with me to verse 10 now, if you will. Jesus answered and said unto her, If you knew the gift of God, and who it is who speaks to you, give me to drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From where do you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whoever drinks of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go, call your husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, You have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and whom you have now is not your husband. In that said you truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour comes and is now when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship. God is a spirit, and they who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that the Messiah comes, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus said unto her, I who speak unto you am he. Now it goes on about the worship part, and I'm not going to go into that part, but like I said, there is so much in this first half of John 4 to explore. What I want to do is really going into the fact that Jesus gave her the opportunity to lie to him. He said, I'm the living water, and she wasn't exactly sure what that meant. And so he brings up her husband. What's she going to do? And she's very transparent with him, and she says to him the truth. Because she answered honestly, he revealed himself to her as the Messiah. Now, here's the thing. How honest would you be with Jesus? If he were to confront you with what your sinfulness is, how honest would you be to him? He already knows everything about you. Your sin doesn't shock Jesus. He loves you as you are. He loved her as she was. You see, in the heat of the day, she had to carry that bucket. That's what it meant to be the 6th hour. That was noon. She wasn't going there in the beginning of the day when other people were getting their water for the day. She was avoiding everyone. I'm sure Sychar was not a very big village, and I'm sure a lot of people knew her business. So she was going there in the heat of the day, carrying her bucket. Now, we don't know why she had 5 husbands. It could be that she was promiscuous. It could be she had a hole in her heart that she was trying to fill with relationships with men. It could be that she needed somebody to provide for her. A roof over her head, food to eat. We don't know. Jesus knew, and he didn't care. And the thing is that he tells her he can meet her needs. He calls out her sin lovingly. I know I sort of didn't read that lovingly. Can you imagine he just simply saying, yeah, you know what? You're right. This guy you're with, he's not your husband. You've had 5. We know he didn't condemn her with the tone of his voice and with his look because she left her bucket behind. What she had been relying on for her daily needs, she left it behind. And she ran to the very people she was hiding from and said, I met a man that told me everything I did, and it's okay. He still loves me. And they came to see Jesus. She became an evangelist. She told people about the love of Jesus, and they responded. Now, as I was preparing for this, suddenly, as I was trying to imagine this encounter between Jesus and this woman, I suddenly got this picture. Melissa read last week, and she put God in the place of love for 1 Corinthians 13. So, with this encounter, tell me if this runs true. Okay? To the woman, Jesus was patient and kind. He did not envy or boast. He was not proud. He did not dishonor her. He was not self-seeking. He was not easily angered. He kept no record of wrongs. He had a lot to be angry about. She was talking openly to him. Yeah, our fathers worshiped on this mountain. Yeah, we created our own Bible. We were doing all the things that we shouldn't be doing. Jesus didn't respond by saying, hey, look, this is all the things you and your people have done wrong. He totally bypassed all that. That's where it got me to thinking about me and what I started talking about and how angry I would get. And, anger is the thing that I'm going to have to deal with all the time. It's sort of a thorn in my flesh. I read the proverb for the day every day. So if it's like today's the 18th, I read the 18th chapter of Proverbs. Okay? So I'm gonna tell you a verse that I know off by heart because the Lord pricked my heart more than 20 years ago when I was dealing with all the things I cared about. Proverbs 12:16. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a wise man covers shame. Now, all of a sudden, on the 12th of this month, I'm reading that, and all of a sudden I get this revelation. Ding! I should have seen. I said to myself, I don't need this bell. I don't do the bell. Well, I could have used the bell. Ding! Covers shame. Isn't that love? With all this stuff we're talking about with love, 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 a fool's anger is known immediately, but a wise man loves. Jesus loved. He didn't keep a record of wrong. Melissa talked about how, she keeps a record of wrong. I couldn't be bothered with keeping a record of wrong, but I'll tell you what, if I did, this right here would be about an hour's worth of my keeping record of the wrongs that were done to me. How many of you have a book like this that you keep? This is only about an hour's worth. How many of your names would I have in my book? This is Jesus' book. There's nothing on any of the pages. They are blank. Jesus doesn't keep any record of wrongs. The woman at the well leaves her water pot behind. I leave my book behind. When Jesus had his encounter with the apostles in Matthew 4:22, in Mark 1:20, in Luke 5:11, and at the end of John 1, they left everything. They left it all behind and went after Jesus. Jesus knows all of our shame, and he still loves us. If Jesus is that way, and I can know your shame, I can love you. You can know my shame, and hopefully you can still love me. If you have the lyrics to the song, sometimes when we are singing, and especially if it's a song that we're not familiar with, we don't have the opportunity to really pay attention to the words. And I really want you to see the lyrics to this song. Now, I'm not going to go over it exactly as what you have there is sort of like how we sing it. But I'm going to read the lyrics to you. The verses to this song is Jesus speaking. That's the first thing we need to understand about the song. And if we can imagine, Jesus is sitting at the well, and we are the woman, and we're coming up to the well. That's the mental picture you need for this song. Jesus says, I have what you need, but you keep on searching. I've done all the work, but you keep on working. When you're running on empty and you can't find the remedy, just come to the well. What that means is come to where Jesus is. The next verse. You can spend your whole life chasing what's missing. Maybe that's what the woman was doing with 5 husbands. But that empty inside, it just ain't going to listen. When nothing can satisfy and the world leaves you high and dry, just come to the well. If you're looking for your answers in the world, it's not going to satisfy you. Shopping for clothes and shoes isn't going to do it. sports cars and big trucks, food, drinks, drugs, sex is not going to do it. So then Jesus gets real. Next verse. So bring me your heart, no matter how broken. Just come as you are when your last prayer is spoken. Sometimes He lets us get all the way to the end of our rope. Just rest in my arms a while. You'll feel the change, my child, when you come to the well. And now that you're full of love beyond measure, your joy's going to flow like a stream in the desert. Full of love beyond measure. That's what we've been talking about. Jesus is the source. He fills us with love beyond measure. Then our joy's going to flow like a stream in the desert. You can be living water for someone who's thirsty. Soon all the world will see that living water is found in me because you came to the well. And then it says, all who thirst will thirst no more. All who search will find what their souls long for. The world will try, but it can never fill. So leave it all behind and come to the well. So that's why the title of this is, What Are You Carrying? Because whatever it is, if it's your reliance on your daily needs, if it's your burdens, your responsibilities, if it's your keeping track of wrongs, what you care about, what He's saying is leave it all behind and come to Jesus. That's all I have. Thank you. Any questions?